Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Our brothers, our sisters, our fathers, and our mothers, all our followers across the world. A warm welcome to this week's edition of Arise Conversations as we look into the Yoruba Belief System, the journey to understand. And guess what? Yay! This is our 12th episode. Can you imagine? 12 weeks already of learning, of exchanging ideas, of just opening up the knowledge portal. Thank you so much for being a part of this amazing movement. I am Her Royal Highness Princess Moradeun Adedoyin-Solarin, and I'm the host and producer of the show. I'd love to say a huge thank you to my dream team, my technical crew, led by Olabisi Obadara and Isaiah Falodun, both of World of VOO, World of VOO. As usual, we all know what we do here on Arise Conversations. This is where we unpick, unpack, and examine all those questions that you and I have had for years, all those things that we want to know more about, according to our Yoruba belief system and according to our sacred sciences or Isheshe, which the foreigners or the Western world have tagged Ifa. IFA is not a Yoruba word, or it's not an indigenous word. It's a word that they looked for when they couldn't find an appropriate English word for Isheshe. And Isheshe is our own traditional way, our own belief system, Lati by Washe. In other words, from ancient times, from the beginning of time when Oludumare put us as humans on this earth. And the one and only person that has been our guide, our teacher, our mentor, our lecturer, our friend, and our sister through this journey thus far is none other than Iyanifa Bola Ogundare-Eleagu, who is a British-born Yoruba descendant, and she is a UK-trained lawyer, QC, Queen's Counsel, like you have SAN in Nigerian SAN. She's an Ifa initiate and priestess, a spiritual healer, a qualified herbal practitioner. So just like you have doctors and the Orthodox way, she's also a doctor, but in herbal and alternative medicine. Iyanifa is a diviner. She's a seer. She is a human rights activist. She's a women and child's rights campaigner and defender, a social commentator, a child of the universe, a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a dear friend, a compatriot in this walk to learn more about life, but most importantly, the beautiful creation of Oludumare, the owner and creator of all. So can we warmly welcome our dear Iyanifa to join us today as we go into this week's journey to understanding, opening up again the knowledge portals of our Yoruba belief system. Warm welcome to our top fans. I can see our dear Miss Omolara is there and a few others. Welcome, welcome. I shall be acknowledging each and every one of you as we usually do. But to set off the pace, I'm going to hand over to our dear Iyanifa now, who is going to set up, as we always say, Ejeka She Botinshe, Kulibari, Itiri. So whatever we are going to do anything as Yorubas, we always start off by paying tribute to our God Olodumare and all our Orishas, all Yorumoles, and our ancestors. So over to you, ma. Welcome. Good
Thank you,
evening.
ma'am.
You're looking
Thank you.
amazing. I'm still
Thank
jealous
you.
in that
Thank you.
hairstyle.
I was even going to change it. No time. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I can see my beautiful Yahoo, Mrs. Toko Mevore. Welcome, my
Uh,
darling. Àbọ̀ ìbọn ṣiṣẹ́ o. Iyanifa náà kí yín o. Over to you, Iyanifa.
Pàtó. Ìbà Elédùmarè, ìbà
Ìbáṣẹ,
Akọ́dá, ìbà Ṣẹ̀dá,
ìbáṣẹ,
ìbà Èṣù Ọláàlú ògiri òkò,
ìbáṣẹ,
ẹlẹ́gbára ẹlẹ́gbàrá, alẹ́ṣòkòtò péńpé sórí ẹjọ́ ẹlẹ́jọ́ wọ́ lóní jẹ́ kẹ́ni tí ó jẹ́ ó gbé mi. Èṣù má ṣe ṣe wá
ìbáṣẹ,
bá ọmọ ẹlòmíràn ní kò ṣe. Ìbà yín ìyá mi òfìlọ́pàá kí ọ̀là kí alágogo jẹ. Ìbà fún
ìbáṣẹ,
olókun àsọ̀rọ̀dayọ̀ ẹlẹ́rìn ìpín àtórí ẹni tí ò sún wọn ṣe. Ìbà
ìbáṣẹ,
Ọ̀ṣun ọ̀ṣẹ̀ǹgẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ìyá mi awẹ́dẹwẹ̀rẹ̀ṣà kó tó wẹmọ. Olóhùn
ìbáṣẹ,
àyìn ìbà yẹn ni mo ṣe orí iye yìí o. Mo ṣe báyé mọ́jáyé mọ́ tá àṣà ìyá mi gbàlùbọ́sà kó fi rọ̀ fún ẹyẹ mọ́jáyé. Mo ṣe bò
ìbáṣẹ,
ṣáńlọ̀ ṣẹ̀rẹ̀ màgbò bàbá mi tó sùn nú ẹ̀là tó jí nú ẹ̀là funfun gbòlà. Mo ṣe
ìbáṣẹ,
bògún lákàáyé olómi lẹ́fẹ̀jẹ̀ ènìyàn wẹlẹ̀ ọ̀làṣán lẹ́fìmọ̀ kí mọ̀ búra.
ìbáṣẹ.
Ògún má ṣe jẹ́ àríjẹ o. Mo ṣe bá ṣọ̀pọ̀nà ọba ló ayé àfò
Hmm,
elédùmarè kábíyèsí o oníwìwí àdó
hmm,
oníbàǹtẹ́ péléjà péléjà
hmm.
ìbà ẹni mo ṣe o.
Ìbáṣẹ,
Mo ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ nílé mo ṣe borí iṣẹ́ oko kó
ìbáṣẹ,
já máa rí iná ká máa rí lò ká máa rí jẹ. Mo ṣe
ìbáṣẹ,
bó ṣóòsì ìwọ lójú ojú ẹrígun mẹ́rẹ̀ẹ̀rin ayé lẹ́ẹ̀kan náà ìbà ẹni mo ṣe o.
ìbáṣẹ,
Mo ṣe bá gbogbo gbagbarúmọ lójú kọ̀tún mo ṣe
ìbáṣẹ,
bá gbogbo gbagbarúmọ lójú kòsì mo
ìbáṣẹ,
ṣe bá bàbá mo ṣe bá
ìbáṣẹ,
yèyé
ìbáṣẹ,
mo ṣe bó ṣó mo ṣe bá
ìbáṣẹ,
jẹ́ mo
ìbáṣẹ,
ṣe bá gbogbo àwọn àgbààgbà mi pátápátá.
ìbáṣẹ,
Mo ṣe bá gbogbo babaláwo tí ń ṣeré sí ifá gbogbo ìyánífá tí ń ṣeré níwájú ifá mo ṣe
ìbáṣẹ,
bá gbogbo bàbá lóríṣà ìyá lóríṣà
ìbáṣẹ,
mo ṣe bá egúngún ilé bàbá mi egúngún ilé
ìbáṣẹ,
ìyá mi.
ìbáṣẹ.
Wọ́n ní tọmọdé bá jú bàbá ẹ̀ yóò roko dalẹ́ dandan dandan ni.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni,
Ǹjẹ́ àwa ti wá jú bàbá ẹ̀ káwa roko dalẹ́ ni o.
àṣẹ o,
Àwo ò dáṣe àláṣe orò tọmọ bá dáṣe kóró má ṣàì gbà gbogbo ìta wa ṣe lénìí báyìí o
ìbáṣẹ,
àdáṣe àláṣe. Ẹ̀yin tó
ìbáṣẹ,
láyé ẹ̀yin aláṣekù ẹ wá bá wa gbà ẹ̀yin alálẹ̀ ẹ wá bá wa gbà orí
àṣẹ,
ẹni ẹlẹ́dàá àpèrè àtinilẹ́yìn má padà lẹ́yìn ẹni kó wá sìn wá o má
ìbáṣẹ,
ṣe fi wá sílẹ̀ báyìí o
àṣẹ,
torí orí odídẹrẹ́ ló gbére pàdé odídẹrẹ́ orí àlùkò ló gbére pàdé
Yorùbá,
àlùkò kórí wa máa gbére pàdé wa báyìí ká má ṣe
àṣẹ,
rógun ikú ká má
àṣẹ,
ṣe rógun àrùn ká má ṣe rógun òfò.
àṣẹ,
Ǹjẹ́ àwa wá ṣèbà lénìí báyìí kí bá wa kó wá ṣe o.
àṣẹ,
Gbogbo ìta máa ṣe lénìí báyìí kẹjẹ kó wájú wá ṣe o.
àṣẹ, àṣẹ o. Mo ṣe báyìí o, Iyanifa.
Ìbáṣẹ.
Thank you so much. So Iyanifa has just prayed us in our own traditional way to open up today's show. And we have said a big ashe. So today we're looking at Orishas and Irumale and humans. And what are the links, interlinks between the three? Are they the same? Are they totally separate? Or are they interlinked? So the first question I'm going to pose to Iyanifa is, who exactly is an Orisha according to our Yoruba belief system? Because I've realized a lot of people totally mix it up. And as you know, even though we spoke a little bit about Orishas at the beginning, like some 11, 10 weeks ago, we realized that a lot of more people have joined us. So they obviously didn't get, that short part. But we've now come to the particular episode where we are going to be dealing, with the existence of Orishas. Who are they? How were they created? How did they come to be? According to our Yoruba belief system. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. So, talking about the issue of Orisha. Orisha, as I understand it, is what we break down to Eni Orishada. Orishas can be seen as human beings, or let me say to an extent, spirit beings as well, that were born, they have a mother, a father, they were on this earth plane and they lived an exemplary life. Hence, when they journey on, they become an Orisha. Now, the reason why I'm saying this, there's been a lot of controversy, as you said, around the whole issue of Orisha and Irumole. A lot of people will argue that Oshun, for example, Oshun Shengeshe, is an Orisha. Well, Oshun is not an Orisha. That's based on Ifa, and it's also based on my own personal experience of who Oshun is, which I've shared in previous shows. But some people will say to you that Oshun is an Orisha. My point is that when we start to delve into Odufa, we understand that the two assimilations that she's an Orisha is not possible if we are going on what Ifa tells us, and we'll also explore later on as you ask me the questions about the interchangeability of the Orishas as well.
Thank you so much. So we now have heard from the horse's mouth, not that Iyanifa is any way at all a horse, but we've heard from her because she's an Ifa initiate, but she's also a scholar. When it comes to Ifa and divinations and things surrounding the knowledge of our belief system. And she's explained to us that if Orishas are those that have been uniquely and specially created. They had mothers, they had fathers, they were born into this earth plane. However, there are other beings that we have, powerful beings, that sometimes, or a lot of times, we as a people tend to do a mix up, as my Caribbean brothers and sisters would say, thinking, for instance, that the Yosho Shengeshe herself is an Orisha. Yeah, but Iyanifa is telling us or making us know and realize that Oshun Shengeshe is not an Orisha. And she said she would, explain when we go further on, and let us know why she cannot be referred to as an Orisha. One, because of what Ifa says. In other words, what our belief system says. And we know one thing about Ifa: Ifa ki puro, Ifa ki sheki. Ifa never lies. Ifa will say it as it is. So she's going to explain to us how we can then know the differences between an Orisha and those who are not Orishas. So Iyanifa, what is the difference between an Orisha and an Irumole? Maybe you should first tell us what an Irumole, because you've already explained what an Orisha
Yeah.
is. So
Okay.
what
So
is an
Irumole
Irumole?
are to me spirit beings, and they're primordial. They have been created, as we have explored previously, in different Odufas, from the story of creation, for argument's sake, about how the earth as we know it today came into existence, and the way that it started. So we have been given so many examples of the Irumoles that were sent from Orun to Aye to carry out different missions. They were not born, they don't have mothers, they don't have fathers. They are primordial spirit beings that were created by Lady Mary and sent down here to do their mission and to still be, I guess, in a sense, in a spirit essence, to still continue to guide us.
Thank you. So is there a link, for instance, are Orishas, can an Orisha be both a human and a spirit being?
Okay, so when we look at the fact of, earlier in the show, we talked about when people say to me, for example, I'll use Oshun because she's my mother, she's our mother. So I'm using Oshun as an example. A lot of people will do Irariosha. So they'll get initiated into Oshun and you'll see them and you'll be like, congrats, what's your Oshun? And they'll say, it's just Oshun. So there are different parts and different sets within what we do in terms of our spirituality of Isheshi. So it's just like when you go to med school and you become a doctor. Yes, everybody goes through the route of the MBBS degree, but then you'd start to choose your electives of, what your specialism is going to be, if you like. So you have your pediatrician, your gynecologist, your surgeon, your urologist, and so forth. Um, when you
But
look
it's
at
all under
Orishas,
medicine. It's
it's
all
all
under
under
the
medicine.
umbrella.
Yes, yes. So there's a reason why I'm using that to explain. So, for example, when we look at, for example, Olokun, a lot of people will say, Olokun is an Orisha. Some people even mix up that Olokun Senyade is Aje. They are not. It's two different things, two different entity altogether. Yes, they're related, but they're not the same. Um, and so then in Olokun, for example, you have different parts. So someone goes and has a Irari into Olokun during the process that they go through, which I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. It's then, there's a discovery that's done through divination, comprehensive divination, to find out what is their path in Olokun. Is it the Olokun the Orisha? Is it the Olokun Irumole? Do you understand? So there are, you know, I think that the reason why there is that correlation or that kind of misconception around it, that Orisha and Irumoles, and they kind of like interchange, is that when it's only when you start to explore deep into Ifa stanzas and corpus that you realize that actually there's a difference.
Okay. Thank you so much, man. I just wanted to say a quick welcome to some of our followers and viewers. Um, our sister, my darling cousin Obafe Kemi is here, and she's saying Aboru Aboye. Oh my goodness, we've got to give her a big round of
Aboye
applause.
Boshishe.
That's wonderful. Molara is saying welcome, Iyanifa, and good evening.
Thank you, ma. Good evening,
Um,
ma.
okay, I've acknowledged Mrs. Topo Mebore, who is also a wife of Adoluwo. We have our
Good
dear
evening, ma.
sister
Aboru Boye, ma.
Anemunu Irewolide, and she's saying Oshun is an Irumole,
Yes.
primordial being. Absolutely.
Thank you, ma.
Oluwo Kunle Olashuju says, greetings, Princess Yanifa, and everyone. Everybody, please welcome. We thank you all for joining us as usual. Now, Yanifami, what exactly are the specific roles of Orishas, okay, in human existence first? And then after you explain that, you'll also now explain to us the roles of the Romulas in our existence. So let's take the Orishas first.
Okay. So, I mean, that is a fully loaded question, but I will aim to answer it.
Thank you.
So, our purpose, just like our Ori and our Odufas are different, the purpose of an Orisha in each person's life can be completely different. An Orisha might be upon somebody's head for the purpose that it's to do with their profession, their career, the place that they find themselves in life at that moment, or the things that they need to actually get through to understand, to evolve and be um, properly awoken, if you like. So, but as a general rule, when you look at Orishas, um, their role a lot of times, so you have, like, for example, Egbe, Oga Ogwapo Nile Birupe, Musu. Egbe's role in most times is leadership, it's support. So, what do I mean by leadership? Borokini Orun, allowing Borokini Aye, which I'll go into again shortly, to be able to, they say, okay, this person has come to this earth plane, they're supposed to be a leader. By your propitiation of Egbe, your constant communication and other things that you do with Egbe surrounding you is to help you to be able to achieve and maintain that leadership role. And to do it, not just to be a leader and do whatever, but to be fair in the way that you deal with
Carry
your
on your
affairs.
affairs.
Yes, yeah. So they guide all of this. So with Orisha can be there to protect you. They can be there to give you clarity, like Oshanla. There isn't hardly any Orisha, as far as I'm concerned, that doesn't give you protection. But again, like I said, it depends on many things. Your Odufa, if you have Ifa, your Dafa that you've had done, so the divination maybe at that specific time for someone who doesn't have an Ifa, even though that Dafa is not the Odu that gave birth to you, but it's there to still guide you kind of to the Ebo stage and slightly beyond. Yeah.
Okay,
So a lot
so
of people often come to me and say to me, "Oh, I had this Dafa done, and Baba and Iya said that this is the Orisha on my head." With all due respect, I only mentioned it because we're talking about Orishas, and a lot of my elders are online, so please correct me. I mean, each, we're here to, I'm here to teach, but I'm also here to learn. And nobody knows everything. But in terms of my own studies of Ifa, knowledge from my elders, their wise words over years that I've taken in and, analyzed and researched on. No one can tell you the Orisha that is on your head. You
Mm.
will know this when you do your Itefa. And when you
Okay.
do your Itefa, some people will have a dafa done, for example, and it will say, okay, yeko shebai or yeko rariosha. But I always tell people, you can't leave the first thing to the latter, and you can't put the latter to the first. So, an itefa is to understand yourself, your destiny. So, the itefa, what I mean by that is initiation into Ifa.
As
Now,
is would that be as an IFA initiate or as an IFA practitioner?
okay, sorry. Let me stop you there. Yeah, this is another problem we have that is going crazy right now. Is that people are saying that, oh, I got initiated as a priestess. You cannot get initiated as a priestess or a priest. When you get initiated, it is as the word says, you are an initiate, an Ifa devotee. Some people have been on this journey for long, don't get me wrong, where they have their gifts. They have even achieved more than some priest and priestess. I know people that have been in Tifa for years, reawoken for 20 odd years. But for one reason or another, and in line with their Ori, which we cannot question Eledumare and Ori about, they might get initiated on the 21st year. To each one of us is appointed a different journey and a different time. So that kind of a person can say, they can go through their training or whatever training they've gone through, they can put through it once they have their asher to say, you know what, I'm a priest. I wouldn't say to that person, oh, you're not a priest because you got initiated in the 21st year. Now, there's a difference between someone who is just coming into Ifa or reawoken into Ifa. You get initiated today and you're an Ifa priest tomorrow.
Can that happen?
No, unless in the first instance of what I explained. There are people who have been on this journey who have actually achieved more than some priests and priestesses in terms of taking responsibility of their knowledge, gaining wisdom within Ifa, living the Ifa way. Some people will tell you that, no, actually, I've been in Ifa for 10 years, 15 years. I don't want to get initiated yet. I want to make this my complete way of life so that I can be committed to what I'm doing. Now, I cannot go and tell that person that they don't know what they know if they can show the adept of their knowledge that, okay, you are not a priest. My problem is those that are just coming in clearly, and or someone has an Orisha initiation today, and yes, when you're going through the process, they call you a Babalawo, but they don't call you a Baba. There's a reason for that. So again, I won't go into it, but that does not mean, and you are told, because most priests and priestesses go through. I mean, like we've said and explored in previous shows, Ifa's learning is until we journey on. It never ends. But at
Because
least in
it's too
sitting
vast.
down,
It's too vast.
exactly, you know, and in sitting down to even learn Ifa, even my elders have said it, you're looking at 15 years and counting. So,
And counting.
yes, and counting, you know. I have elders that have been in Ifa for 50 years, 60 years, and they'll tell me,
Wow.
Bola, mo mà gbọ́fá kan lánàá lẹ́nu bàbá kan. In fact, mi
Wow.
ti ẹ̀ gbọ́fá yẹn rí bọ̀gbà tẹ́mi náà wá tú, wọ́n wá rí i pé olúwo ẹ̀ rèé, kíní kan
Hmm.
rèé. So if them 60 years into it and still counting are still learning, for me, um, to come into it and just be like, this is who I am. I mean, everybody's entitled to say who they want to be. It's your mouth, it's your life. But there is also a consequence and a counterbalance for all our actions.
Absolutely. And that's probably
So,
why we never hear, sorry to butt in, we never
mm,
hear really like genuine IFA initiates or Isheshe practitioners. We never hear them refer to themselves as experts or know it
No,
alls. We never ever do.
no.
And they
And
always say, it's not them that knows, it is the Father that knows, it is the Father that shows
mhm.
the way, it's the Father that teaches and opens the portal of knowledge.
And it's the same with any sensible person in all professions. When you look at herbalism, when I trained as a clinical herbalist, one of the things is that we heal, we don't cure. There's a difference. You go and you meet a lawyer, they'll tell you that these are the merits of your case. They don't say to you, oh, 250%, you're going to win that case. It's their profession, they know it, but they cannot give you that assurance. So, when we look at so many things, including even a babalawo that would have been sitting on the mat, casting a far, teaching all over the world, 40 years, 45 years, 50 years, the chances are still the same. Ifá ẹni tó wá dáfá ẹ̀ òun láwo èmi ti dọ̀gbẹ̀rì torí babaláwo kan ò mọ nǹkan kan. So like in every stance of a recitation, incantation, the stanzas from Ifa reminds us of humility, is what brings
Hmm.
about more knowledge and wisdom.
You just took that out of my mouth. I was about to say it actually shows that one needs to be humble.
Yes,
Even in your
definitely.
knowing, even you do that a lot. You still
Yeah.
continue to um, apologize and say, with all due respect, with all due respect, and you say that right through. Why? Because you're first of all paying homage and tribute to
Mhm,
those that taught you, because they're still alive and
mhm,
they are also still on a journey of learning.
mhm,
As we all have come to learn and know that there's no, it's so vast.
mhm.
Our belief system is so deep, wide, vast, high, that nobody can claim total 100% knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's why you were sharing with us that somebody who'd been a babalawo for 50 years says, oh, I just saw some person yesterday and they shared something that
Me
I'd
this.
never heard
Yeah.
before,
Mhm,
which is thoroughly amazing. Now, how about those? So you've just explained to us the role of Orisha. How about the role of the Umules in the life of humans?
mhm.
Or, what is their role in our own existence here on earth?
Okay, so the Irumoles are here again, similar to the Orishas, but in a different format, to also guide us, to protect us. Irumoles are through by which we have our manifestation. So, for example, I once asked somebody, I think, I don't know if Mama Dee's online, but she can attest to this, but a few years ago, in doing my research, I had asked an elder who, you know, everyone claimed was an Obatala priest, that to ask them that is Obatala Oshanla an Orisha or an Irumole. And when you look at praise songs or Riki stanzas of Ifa, it will tell you that the same way they say Oloko Agborisha, they will tell you that Obatala Agborishani, being the youngest, but at the same time, in terms of wisdom, still oldest. So different. This is what I'm talking about interchangeability, because in different Odufas, you will see it, relative. When you look at the Irumoles are there to guide us. They are still there to keep us about accountability. For me, Irumoles are more about accountability. Like we've explored on previous show, again, I'll use our mother Oshun Oluwe Mapojo, that a lot of people will say, Oshun is sweet, she's feminine, she's a beauty, sacred, all these fantastic things, honey, sunflowers,
Sensual,
pumpkin, yeah, sensual,
loving.
all the rest of it. Oshun is actually one of the most fiercest and the most ferocious Irumole.
Wow.
Oshun doesn't like gossips. She doesn't like oath breakers. She doesn't like liars. Oshun enjoins us to be truthful. And when we're not, she comes in and shows herself and lets us know that uh, That's why I always tell people that if you're almost shown, nobody has to tell you you've done something wrong.
mm,
Maybe you will eventually go to sleep. And even if you don't go to sleep, it will still transpire for you.
mm.
So, you know, when we look at issue, people are always like, as we know that issue has been demonized, but we know that issue is not Satan, which we've explored previously as well. Issue is
Olailu.
that, yeah,
Mm.
Olailu, the glory of a
Can you
town,
break that down for people to
the
understand?
glory of a town. How can somebody who is the glory, the fame of a town now become the problem? It's not possible. So at the end of the day, we have to look at, and people won't like issue, they do the wrong thing because issue acts as justice, the police. He's there to make sure that you do what you're supposed to do. He will assist you, but he will also put you to order. So
Exactly.
for me, yeah, sorry.
There are, because I know that there are many names or referrals to issue, especially in our belief system.
Mm.
Can you just share with us
Hmm.
maybe like a short stanza of how Toban Kish, how is
Okay,
he
more like Oriki. So
Oriki, sorry.
Esholalu, Esholalu, Ogiri Oko, Ẹlẹ́gbà, Ẹlẹ́gbà, Alẹ́ṣòkòtò péńpé sórí ẹjọ́ ẹlẹ́jọ́,
Hmm.
ìwọ lò ní jẹ́ kẹ́ni tí ó jẹ́ ó gbé mi. Òbéńbé lorúkọ ìyá mọ̀ ẹ́, Àjàmásà lorúkọ bàbá mọ̀ ẹ́. Èṣù òjì lòwúrọ̀ fomi ìgboro bọ́jú. Can you still hear me, ma?
I think we had a little short like an outage there. I think we'll have to ask Iyanifa to come back in again. Um, I was trying to read a message and I think maybe I pressed something. So we just had like an outage. I do apologize. We'll bring Iyanifa back in. Studio, can we bring her back in so that we can continue? So far, as we're waiting for Iyanifa to rejoin us, we've been discussing the topic today, which is who are Orishas and who are the Irumales, what are their primary roles, first in our lives as humans, but also in our existence here on Earth. And Yanifa has been explained to us and taken us through, the various roles of Orishas, or rather the differences in the roles of Orishas and the roles of Irumales. But she's also explained that sometimes they interlink, they intertwine. So because an Orisha can have can operate through different energy. So just like we all have different giftings, some people can have 10 talents, some may have two, some may have 20, and you can operate under both or all of them. So that's how it is with the Orishas as well. The Iromales, she explained to us, however, are primordial spirit beings. So they've been here before we humans came here, before in fact, the senior Orishas came. That they are the ones that Oludumare had put here to do specific things or to put specific things in place for us. Okay, Yanifa is back. Thank you so much, Yanifa. I apologize there. We had like a
No
little
problem.
outage
No
um,
problem, ma.
when you were
Yes, ma.
speaking. So you were giving us the oriki of
Yeah, so
Ishulalu,
I was saying that things are, issue is Esholalu. We have
the wealth of the town,
yeah,
the
the
glory
wealth
of the
of a
town.
town. Then issue is also known as Aringbeshola.
Ari,
Arìngbìn Ṣọlá lorúkọ tá à ń pèsè ọ̀dàrà.
what does that mean, Ari Mishola?
Arìngbìn is like one who walks almost like I don't know. It's like I feel it's almost like Anago, but it's like majestically to come
Majestically,
into
okay,
wealth.
okay.
To come into wealth. Arìngbìn Ṣọlá lorúkọ tá à ń pèsè ọ̀dàrà. Then Eshu is also known, like we have many songs like Oriki, but in some of the songs we sing that Aláṣẹgbà ló bí mi, Èṣù gbà, Aláṣẹgbà ló bí mi o, Èṣù gbà, ṣóhun náà ló bí ẹ o, Èṣù gbà, Aláṣẹgbà ló bí mi o, Èṣù gbà. So like he's like when we look at it that Aláṣẹgbà, you
Hmm.
know, how can we then start to, I guess what I'm trying to say is like associate these negative things, though we know that it was done for a purpose, to issue. We also know from issues Oriki that issue òun ló ń gbégbá ajé wọ̀lú.
Every morning
Every morning issue enters every town to bring the calabash of ajé.
of wealth.
So how can of wealth? So how can he be seen as negative?
May, may I ask a question there, Yanifa?
Yeah, sure.
Is that why some people earnestly say, like if somebody becomes wealthy or
Yeah.
rich and they say, ah, owó èṣù ni, owó èṣù ló ń ná,
You
èṣù
know
ló fún
what?
lówó. In other words, sorry,
Sometimes,
apologies to those who don't
yeah.
speak Yoruba. People might say, oh, that's Mr. Devil's money. Oh, the devil gave that person the wealth that they have
Well, our issue is not the devil, as is described by,
by the Western world. So
yeah, the
also we have
religion.
a situation here with language and translation
Hmm.
because
And
our language has been way, way, way before the Western world ever came.
mhm,
And if Ishu has had this Oriki and all these descriptions and all these names that you have called him from ancient times, way before the Western world came, way before Christianity, way before Islam and all other foreign religions or faith, it
mhm,
shows that what we have or what we have had in our belief system from ancient times is what is solid and what is true.
mm.
And I
Yes,
believe
indeed.
people need to understand that's probably the part that people don't quite get. That
And that's what
we
I
had
was
already
saying,
had our
yeah.
own thing in place before the foreign influence came.
Mm. And the thing is that, yeah, just like the balance of life, yin yang, good, bad, whatever way you want to look at it, everything's a balance. Is that we also need to understand that it's only, as I said, when you start to enter into Ifa in terms of, just for digesting what Ifa says and how complex it is, you start to understand what each being, stands for. It's just like the issue of Iyami. I will just mention it briefly. A lot of people, Iyami, àwọn àjẹ́, But my grandmother used to say something. Obìnrin wo ló pè tí ò ń jẹ́?
Hmm. We need to translate that map for our.
You know? And then
Uh,
we have things that we'll say to the mothers when we're praying. We say, Àjẹ́ fún jẹ̀dọ̀ jẹ̀rọ̀rọ̀ má jẹ́ tọmọmọ. Which, if you look at it, you break it down logically, they are protectors as mothers. They are mothers of mystery. So, yeah, what I was saying is that there is no woman when women, they like to say, oh, Yami, Ajay, this, that. Then people say witches. Oh, this the witches, get behind and all this, you know, malarkey. Um,
Malaki
what my grandmother always used to say is that what woman or what mother is called and doesn't
doesn't
answer?
respond
There is no
because
mother that will hear the cry of her child and not respond.
so Aje really means to respond, one who
Yes,
responds.
yeah. And hastens to respond, doesn't play with her children,
So
you
how
know,
come the English language decided to turn that into the word witch?
because the English language had a purpose. had a purpose, and the purpose was to demonize everything that we are doing. Sorry, ma.
Wow.
1 second. This is my white wallet.
Oh, have we lost Iyanifa again?
No, you haven't lost me. Sorry, ma. Trying to do multiple things. Sorry, ma.
You know, I
Need
always
to
say
be
that you're an
distracted.
octopus with more than 8 arms. Okay,
So
so
basically, sorry. Yeah, sorry, ma.
no,
Um,
so please finish your
yeah.
explanation.
So basically, with as what I was saying with the yami and all these different energies, is for us to understand and have that respect. We cannot, someone who came in, took away your traditions, took away your name, your
Hmm.
everything about you, broke your soul, cannot come and write your narrative. Their mission was never to promote what, it's an issue like one of my elders says, of give me your trumpet and take mine.
I would like you to go over that again, please. That was so profound, the way you just explained. Someone who came
Mhm.
to
Took your name,
take to strip you of
everything, your name,
your essence, your
your
name,
essence, your tradition, your culture, broke your soul
your
and
identity,
your
and then broke
identity,
your that's the
displaced you,
bit. Broke
pretty
your
much made
soul.
you stateless spiritually, broke your soul. You now want that person to write your narrative. It can never happen.
They would never write your narrative.
No, they cannot. Because like one of my elders said, our previous Babaijo, that it's an issue of give me your trumpet and I'll give you mine. They know the power that Isheshe wields, and we have explored it on previous show. Apologies to those that missed it. But Ajayi Crowder was sent on a mission. People have mixed views about it, and he did what he was sent to do.
Hmm.
They knew that they had to take away our spirituality because it was our way of life. They knew how powerful it was. It's like when you see that quote that says, they came, they told us to close our eyes. When we opened them, they gave us the Bible and they took our lands.
It's it's very interesting that you said that, because when we do our own iwuri, for those who don't understand what iwuri is, that's our own way of prayer, if you
Hmm.
can call it that, because what we do is more than prayer, really.
Yeah, it's more than
We
prayer, it's
speak,
manifestation.
whatever it is that we want or that we wish, we speak it into being. We call it forth, you know. Like we're still waiting for Yanifa's affirmations, so like we
Okay.
have affirmations in
I
English
will
and
be sending them. Some of them are already online, but I put them together, so I will be
yes.
sending them
So
across.
what Yanifa is trying to explain to us is we had all those, ways of our, ancient ancestors and how they did things in their own special way of life, making use of the sacred sciences, which is our Isheshe, which the Westerners have now called Ifa, IFA, which is not a Yoruba word, by the way, but I think we'll still need to deal with it at some other time as well.
Just like
So,
Yoruba is not us, but anyway,
yes,
let's
so it
not go
just shows us
backwards. But
that
yeah.
we had our ways, we had our language, we had how we had our history, and we were very good in oral history. So when people say, "Oh, if you don't want an African or a black person to know something, hide it in a book," lie from the pit of whatever their hell is, because
Well, the
the
hell and
people that
heaven is also
really
a scam.
the people that really have the gift to memorize are actually us. All you have to do is look at, okay, somebody like Iyanifa. I just ask her something, she reels it off. She doesn't need to. We've never seen her open a scripture to check. Whereas if it was other faiths, with no disrespect, they will still have to go to either the Bible or the Torah or the Quran to be able to quote. If
And
you
even
are
even
in the
when
Sheshe
you
line, because it's your way of life. It's something that you've absorbed. You've absorbed it into your mind and into your being, and therefore, when you are asked about it, You're just really out. With all of us who've been on this journey for the past 12 weeks have seen, have witnessed firsthand how I'll ask Iyanifa something and she just reels it out. And this has nothing to do with her being a qualified lawyer who has practiced for over 11 years or a qualified herbal doctor as well, which is also another vast field. So basically, it just shows us the kind of capacity that we have, as people who embrace Isheshe and our Yoruba belief system as a way of life. I believe, even the energy, the fact that you are into it with an open mind, you're into it to do good, you're into it truthfully. You're not coming in here because you want to kill somebody who you feel is messing about with you, or you want to, ruin somebody
Well, my
else's
my
life.
thing is that it's a joke, but it's not funny. My thing is always that there are powers. Let's not
Oh,
let's not kid
absolutely, man.
ourselves. But my thing is combine those powers. Fight for the source, the land that we're in, that what we're going through. Stop our children from being killed on the streets. Then you'll show me that you're really powerful. Because one of my elders always taught me when I started learning Ifa. He said, "You want power, Abby?" I said, "Ah, of course. Now everybody wants power." Baba was like, "You want power? So when you get power, what are you going to do with it?
Going to do with it?
Don't you know that if you don't go through the process of having knowledge, proper knowledge, wisdom, when you just go for power and you're hungry, you
You
destroy
misuse it.
yourself and everything in your midst." So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Now talking again about our orishas and also the Irumoles, so that people that, because we have so many people watching with us now, so that people can actually have a little bit of idea of, who are orishas. Can you give us, for instance, examples of those orishas, the names of the orishas? Also,
Okay.
those who are Irumoles and those whose roles overlap.
Okay, interlink. So we've spoken about Oshun, Oshun being an Irumo. There are disparages. I say disparages because of Ifa. Some people will tell you that, as far as they're concerned, it's become a tribal thing now. As far as what I'm seeing, not even based on Ifa. That some people tell you that Oya was there. No, she wasn't there. Again, I'll go on Ifa and my own personal experience of Oya in terms of being an Orisha and what she was able to do. However, in other interchangeable Odufas, that's why I'm saying it overlaps. It also shows you of her powers, her gift of being that primordial being. Sorry, just bear with me one moment, Mama. Sorry, all of a sudden my sorry, we've had problems with lights down here.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to make sure that I stay connected to power. Um, so basically, so we have Oshun, we have Oya. When we look at Yemoja as well, people need to understand the story of Yemoja because, contrary to what people do believe, she and Oshun were sisters. In some Ifa stories, and then others show us differently. So Obatala for me is an Irumole, and when we look at the story of creation, he was there as Baba Jagi Jagi, if you remember. Um, and also for the roles of what he was given as an Irumole. When we look at, for me, okay, so when we look at Shango, for example, you have Shango Irumole and you have Shango Risha,
Mm.
and Ifa defines it, you know, Ogun again, Olokun. So there are a lot of um, interwoven or overlapping, not sure which right word to use, um,
It's
that
like
that actually
they
occur.
have dual or numerous multi
Yes,
roles,
yes,
multi roles.
yes. Because when you look at Ogun, he was also one of the ones in the creation story that came down when Obatala came down. But then we have Odufas that shows us that Ogun, Orisha Logun, so it can overlap. It's not all of them, you know, but it's like when some people say to me, Ifa Irumole, I don't really identify that because Ifa, it's a lot higher than that. Ifa is the contents, the pot, if you like, when we talked
Ifa
about
is
the
the real
vessel, when we
Isheshe
talk
itself.
about the vessel, so for me, that is not, That's why Ifa contains within it everything, but it cannot be defined as one thing.
So why is it that some people then go on to say, well, erroneously again, oh,
Hmm.
you are an Ifa worshiper. Oh, you worship Ifa.
Yeah, but that's the same because they have no understanding. They lack understanding. They cannot understand you, much less start to understand you or even overstand you.
Understand?
So when they say that, I just laugh. Yeah. Because my thing is, when you're ready to learn, you know where I am. I don't entertain nonsense. I won't go around and criticize something or talk about something that I don't know about. So for you to come and and um, and criticize what it is I'm doing without knowing about it, that shows me your ignorance already. So there can be no conversation.
Okay, so
So,
now
and it,
for the benefit of those that are watching with us today and those who probably will watch the replay,
yes,
can you explain then the primary roles of an Orisha in the Ifa corpus itself
okay. So, like I've said
and
before,
normally because
yeah,
it
sorry,
seems,
go on.
ma,
I'm listening to you, ma.
okay, so the primary role of
Hmm.
an Orisha within the Ifa corpus, in other words, within Isheshe, and
Hmm.
likewise the specific roles of Irumales within the Ifa corpus as well.
Okay,
Because
so like I
obviously
like
they,
I explained before, in terms of their purpose, can be numerous depending on you. Your Odufa, if you have your Ifa, will be different to mine. So therefore, it's just like you have an Oba. His Odufa that will govern him will be different to mine because it was specifically saying there, this is the person's journey. Even if that person is not an Oba, they will, um, eventually become one. So, but in just being generic in a sense, or, without undermining everything that we're exploring, let's look at Oshanla. So I'm just going to take one line in terms of what I'm talking about protection. So that Odufa is Ogbeotura, Ogbealara, Ogbeola. And I'm just going to take the one line because it's, well, kind of like maybe two lines then. And it says, Òṣà gbà mí o, ẹnu pọ̀ lára mi. Òṣà gbà mí, ẹnu pọ̀ lára mi. Ẹni wọn ni re, ẹnu wọn ni bí. Then it goes on to say, Òṣà gbà mí, ẹnu pọ̀ lára mi. Irú ni kò bá ń fi ru ọ̀tá mi lọ sájùlé ọ̀run. Iyọ̀ ni kò bá ń fi iyọ̀ ọ̀tá mi lọ sájùlé ọ̀run. Epo ni kò bá ń fi polówó ọ̀tá mi lọ sájùlé ọ̀run. Òòṣà gbà mí, ẹnu pọ̀ lára mi. It's a very long stanza, but I'm taking that to show, it's a stanza. It can be used for so many different things. But let's guide it on you asking the primary purpose in a human being's life. So say I have my Ifa, and through my Itefa, it has been identified that I am an Omobatala. So I have Oshanla Obatala governing me. When I do my Iwure in the morning and I will use such a stanza, I am asking because I recognize that Oshanla protects. He's the king of white cloth. Come in and protect me. Protect me from my enemies. So you can do it in Iwure, but it also comes up in Akoshefa and other different things. So I'm just kind of skipping over. So when we look at the purpose of them in our lives are humongous, but it's
mm,
also about how we utilize that. So, we can chant Ifa stanzas from today to tomorrow, which they're very relevant and important, don't get me wrong. But for me, the key message is people understanding that if you have Oshun as an Irumole that is connected to you, you have to learn about yourself in order for you to be awoken. You have to learn what are the things of Oshun. How can I connect into that? It's just like Ifa where it says, ẹni ajá bá ròde lájá ń bá relé, adífá fún ìdíkòkò ìwòyí, Ifá tẹjú mọ́ mi kó wò mí re. tó o bá tẹjú mọ́ mi máa lówó lọ́wọ́ èjì kò kó ewu orí ifá tẹjú mọ́ mi kò wò mí re. The simplicity of that stanza is that the story in it, èjì kò kó ewu yìí, he went he, and did Ifa divination. They told him to have Ifa. And you know, when you get something new, with all due respect, it's like a kid with a toy. It's like a child having a brand new toy. So that thing, everything else that you have is like not relevant for that moment.
Pales into insignificance.
Exactly. So he was taking care of Ifa, doing everything they asked him to do. Everything was going great. After a while, he left his Ifa again because maybe it became mundane or other things. I'm just giving an example in terms of us as human becomings. We do this
Mm,
all the time. We start something, and because life doesn't give us that spice, so we just feels that thing is no longer
relevant.
serving us. We find it mundane, so we put it aside. Some people will come for a fight divination and say, mo ti lọ bí báyìí, wọ́n sọ pé ìyá mi ló ṣe mí, or ìyá mi ló fẹ́ pa mí, or something. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in some cases, but the thing is, like Odimeji says, it's very easy to look at what other people do rather than to look at yourself. But what
Mm,
Odimeji teaches us is that when you're in a situation, stop, think to yourself, ponder, how did I contribute to this situation, if at all? Ejogbe tells us that ponder, rest. We've explored this on this show previously. Let the breeze blow on you. Look to your right, to your left, in front of you, at the back of you. Think about what Orumila, Ashiwaju Wajulo, would do.
mm,
When you have that answer, then you act. My point of saying all these stories in bits is that they are all there for us in so many humongous ways to be relevant. It is also how we utilize and tap into that energy. So let me use the example again back to Yawo Oshun. That if a woman, for example, wants a baby and she wants Oshun to do that for her, because Yawa Olomoyoyoni, she would do it, but it's how you tap into that. Somebody else might come to Oshun or have Oshun as their rumole, but um, they need to have boldness from Oshun. The journey is different.
mm.
So somebody else might come to the same irumole or have the same irumole, and their purpose is that they need humility. Just as a person, they're just not humble, and they're not doing it on purpose. They don't know how to get, they have to work with Oshun to get that humility. You know, so that's why I say to each one of us is assigned a different role. So to start to talk about, um, their purpose in our lives as human beings, it's very vast,
So it's basically you're trying
depending
to
on so
explain
many
to us that
factors.
it's specific to each human being or human
Yes,
becoming.
because when you have your Odufa, for example,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
your Odufa will tell you when you do your Etefa, like for example, my own Odufa tells me that whichever, if I leave my house, whichever town I go to, as soon as I get to that town, I must look for somebody that has an issue shrine and propitiate issue immediately. Why? For gratitude, because Eshu gives me a lot. For protection, because in my Odufa, he protects me. You know, so someone else, it might be for a different reason that they need to propitiate or come closer to Eshu. So that's why I'm saying that it is different. And for me, there is no time in my Odufa that whenever it's Osefa or whenever I'm doing certain other, ebos or etutu, I must always propitiate Eshu. Some people in their mannerism will go to Ifa first and then come back. I start off with Eshu, and that is where it finishes off. But that is me, because that is my journey. For someone else, they will talk about their own Odu, and totally it's for a different purpose for them. Someone else, it would be important um, to go to Erinle, you know, as an Orisha. But I don't have that in my Odufa. So it doesn't make it any less valid for them or make my Odu any less valid. And that's what I'm saying is that the purpose of the Orishas in our life are for different purposes: childbirth, child rearing, leadership, consummated fortune, protection, clarity, humility. I mean, the list goes on. Wealth, um, because a lot of people again associate Ajay with being wealth, great. But for me, Ajay is more than wealth, as I've said before. Ajay is about success. It's about accomplishment. It's about being able to start and
Achievements,
complete, yes, and complete a project. You
to
know,
excel,
yeah,
to do
yeah,
monumental things and
yes,
excel
yes, yeah.
in
And
whatever it is.
sometimes you'll get some people where they will, um, they will always start projects and never be able to complete them. It's not because they're stupid, and some of them are very intelligent, but then it's the need to look into why. And if I will always tell them that, it will tell them the orisha that they need to do more with, or irumole that guides around that for them, that they must always take heed of whenever starting a project, to make sure that they complete it. So yeah.
Thank you. Now, for those who, for instance, who have been on this journey with us thus far for these 12 weeks, because we've kind of tried very hard to bring as much information and knowledge within the fold here, um, on Arise Conversations. But we all know, and also as you've explained to us, that it's very, very vast and very wide. How can people then, for instance, if I just decide, okay, I'm a complete novice, but from all I've heard thus far these past few weeks, I want to now start my journey, as someone who wants to live my life according to our belief system. How does that kind of person, how do they go about it, like step by step, so that people
Okay.
don't get it wrong? Because a lot of people have gotten it wrong.
Hmm. So, first and foremost, I will say the journey starts with self, you know, and it ends with self, like I always say. So you start with self. Some people can be like, oh, so you want to do the journey? Okay, go and get your one hand off. If I do your itefa, I always tell my students, they come, oh yeah, I would really like to be initiated. Learn, explore your journey, know what it's about. Because what you don't understand, you can never remain committed to. I know thousands of people that have gone through ITEFA and have just left the IFA to one side and are seeing the effects today. So there are basic things that we've explored in this program before that people can do. For example, we had given assignments, but none of my students were very good students to tender the assignments about Ori. And when we wake up in the morning, I form before you speak to another human being, be it your husband, your wife, your child, your friend, whoever, that you first rise up and hold your Ori and thank your Ori for the journey from your awake state. Because contrary to what we're taught, our sleep is actually our awake state. But anyway, we won't get into that. So you hold on to your Ori to thank your Ori, to give gratitude to your Ori. And after you do that, if you want to ask your Ori for anything, you can. I always tell people, especially in my book, Iwure Devotions. And what it is about is that I always tell people there's a journal that accompanies my book. And I tell people when you are going through this, go through the journal companion that is with it and take notes. M- Notice the difference when you do Iwure first thing to set the tone of your day. If we're talking about manifestations, we have our share, we have this, and all these things we've been speaking about. You need to see it in action. When you do your Iwure, you take hold of your day,
Day.
of your week. You take control of it. And you You direct it in the way that you want to see it, and you will see it manifest before your eyes. And I always tell people that, life happens to us. There's times where you're doing your iwure. Some people tell me that, yeah, that iwure thing, I'm doing it, but from my bed, I'm still on my pillow. It works for us differently. If that's what works for you to start with, fine, do it. The way how I do my wure is different. And I always say to people, no matter how much you're taught on wure, the whole thing of why I started writing the book Informations is that it is to teach you to basically that, yes, this is your kind of guideline or template. But the whole idea of wure is that you make it your own. Yeah. So for people, for me, the first and foremost is wure. When you start to do the wure with your ori as a basic, or not as a basic, as a huge, you start to take notes. Note down what happens when you do iwure, what you notice in your day. And the days that you wake up late and you're like, I can't do this now, later, the difference you also notice. You know, I've seen people that say to me, or when I go to work, the way people treat me, the way this, I need a dafa, I need to offer a ball. I think I need a shoe to go and deal with that, my boss. First things first, I can say to you, come and do the dafa, do the but yeah, fine. If I will always assist you. If I says ìmọ̀ràn là ń dáka tó dáfá, you know, so sit down and ponder and think to yourself, what am I doing and what could I do differently?
Mm,
When you're doing your iwure, put that boss in iwure. You know, Ifa teaches us about kindness, it teaches us about courage, it teaches us about so many things. Orí mi, ọ̀gá tó ń gbógun tì mí yìí o,
mm,
ṣàánú mi pẹ̀lú ẹ̀. That boss might be going through something themselves through your own iwure that they've been horrible to you for the last 3 years. They might decide to come to you and say, Princess, I have a problem. And you'll be looking at yourself like, why is this person talking to me? Me, that you're always treating me like a 10th class
mm,
citizen. So sometimes the things that we see manifesting is not always about us, but they are about us at the same time. Because the things that happen to us in our life is a call to action. Because if those things don't happen, we wouldn't act. So to start the journey that starts with self, I would say start with iwure. Gradually, for those who have become adept at that, you can start to add elements to your iwure. So when you finish with ori and you give iba to Eledumare Agotun, and all the beings, as you know, all the primordial beings, and the primordial spirit beings and the orishas.
Orishas and
Yes, you start
your
to,
egunguns,
yes, your
your
egunguns, your
ancestors.
ancestors, yes, your ancestors. You start to get more in tune. You can use water, you know. But what I always say to people, not to make it fully loaded, you know, next 2 weeks, my because we've had tasters of it, I'll send it to you actually first, Yami. My guided meditation will be coming out all around Irumoles and Orishas and how you work with them. Um, so basically, what it is that, like I've said before, their purposes with us are different because our journey is different. So if you find that what you need is courage, if you find that you just can't get your head out of the, rut or wherever you're
The
at,
funk.
you're just stuck. You just can't even, there's so much things in front of you that you have to do. It's not about trying to write down tasks and do that. Um, but just more about what's the word? More about I just need help. I need to just get my head out of this rut. So you can work with water. Ocean, please. Sorry, excuse me. I
Bless
feel
you.
like Dr. Agbori, yeah. So when you might just need to get yourself out of that space so that you can just even look at today's Monday, much less even starting to look at the task ahead because different things happen. Work with water. You can work with water. You can call on Oshun. Again, another thing that I would say, people always like say, Oshun's water, Oshun's water. Yes, Oshun's water, but she's not just that, and it's just one of her essences. So, but you can work with water, call on Oshun, and ask Oshun, Yami, I need courage. I just can't get myself out of this space. One thing I will warn you of, it sounds basic, it sounds silly. When you do it, be ready for the answers because it will come. It'll be like, what is going on? So when you call
Absolutely.
her, she is the mother that hastens to hear her child's
The
cry, the
child's
mother
cry.
that waits for the cry of the child and rushes to assist her child. So when you call her, she will come. The same way sometimes with people, I have a lot of students, some of them are writers, some of them do a lot of work where, it's IT based, it requires them to just use their head a lot. And sometimes they're just like, my brain just wants to blow. It's just like lawyers, most professions. Your creativity,
The head is
yeah,
overloaded.
if yes, if you're having an issue with it, get Ori, shea butter. There's a
Uri,
way you use it, yes. Use it to call on Obatala. Ask Obatala to help you assimilate your thoughts, help you to order your thoughts, calm your mind, and align it with the rest of you, and give you that cooling you need on your brain and
So
in your
Uri the
mind.
hair is like a balm.
Yeah,
Will be like a balm.
yes. So the ori is like so the chef butter, so it's one of Obatala's things, so you would use it and you would call on Obatala and ask Obatala for assistance, and Obatala will assist you. Sometimes it's not these, um don't get me wrong, there is the need for the bigger things as you go on with your journey, your Idafa, your Ebos, your Iboris, all of that are all important, but start basic with self and build up, because
Awesome.
it's also very beautiful when you do it that way because you can document your journey. And this is where people come and tell you, that's not the way, that's not what is happening. Spirituality is an individual journey. You come and tell me something that I've experienced firsthand with an Iruma Lorisha doesn't exist. Unless you're doing a dafa that tells you I'm lying, then your experience is your experience and mine is mine. And that's the beauty of the journey. It allows you to start to compose, to understand yourself better. As things starts to evolve and you start with those basic things of self, you start to see things unfold.
So hmm, what I'm hearing here, Iyanifa, is so this thing about uh, corporate praying or corporately doing Iwuri is not really our way.
Uh,
It's not
Sorry,
because you explained that
corporately, yeah.
our way of life is about spirituality and it's an
Hmm.
individual thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because what I chose when I was coming
Hmm.
to Earth, to this
Hmm.
world, is different from what you chose, or
Yes.
from what Omalara chose, or what Obafi
Hmm.
Kemi chose, or Labisi
Hmm.
chose. Each
Hmm.
person, even twins,
Hmm.
identical twins, each one has
Hmm.
chosen their own. Their Ori has chosen
Yes. Yes.
their own pathway.
Hmm.
So that is probably why it's more of an individual thing for us, because each person chose their journey when they were
Yes,
coming.
it is. It is. Sorry to cut you. I'm for what on Modena.
Yes, ma'am.
Um, it's an individual journey, which is very important. That's where you have to start. But Ifa is very collective in energy and knowledge and wisdom and power and being able to manifest that. You can do a lot on your own. And like a lot of people say to me, oh, when you're on a spiritual journey, you're trying to be awoken, it's lonely, especially when you're coming from Abrahamic religions, with all due respect, and everyone's telling you that what you're about to embark on, you're going straight to hell, but let's not get into it. So it can be quite lonely. So sometimes there is the need outside of the things that you do to find a good temple that you can attend where you can meet like-minded people. You will
People.
find your elders there, you'll find people at your level, you'll find people higher than you. It's about each one teach one. So you grow together. so the journey doesn't become so mundane. And it's good because you can share your experiences. You can actually, contrary to what society teach you, realize that you're not going balmy, and this is the real you. So
So it's really a journey of discovery of self.
yes,
It's
yes,
a journey of discovery of self.
yes.
And then I also want to let our viewers know that we're just waiting for Iyanifa to be back in the UK. We hope Nigeria will release her soon, because what we also want
Asha.
to do is to be able to offer our master classes, that people can actually then attend and have, a lot more grounding when it comes to this journey to understanding, and also embracing our Yoruba belief system. So we're waiting for Iyanifa to let us know when she'll be
Very
in the
soon, Ian.
UK.
And
Hint,
I
hint,
just want to
hint,
say what.
hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Don't worry, you'll be picking me up at the airport, man. We've agreed. So
Absolutely.
she's not taking no chances, guys.
No.
So the one of the things I wanted to say while we're on the subject is also that if Ifadiwura Temple UK, this year is our 11th year of a lot of our festival, and the 11th year that we, as a family temple, began. Grateful to Eledumare, to the Rumoles, to Ori, to the Orishas, and we have our 11th Odun Oshun Oshogbo UK phase, as we call it, coming up. So I would employ all my brothers, my sisters, my mothers, my fathers, my elders that are on this line. Please attend. Let's do this together, because they said Kisha Shema Baje Odowo Bubuwa.
Mm.
Odowo ẹ̀yin bàbá, Odowo ẹ̀yin ìyá. Ìṣẹ̀ṣe ò gbọ́dọ̀ bàjẹ́, ìṣẹ̀ṣe ò lè bàjẹ́. So because what I also find is that within our Isheshe, sorry to jump just because we're on the subject, there's a lot of criticisms about you're doing something now, princess doesn't know how to do it. Then join up with her, teach her, work together. There is no monopoly in Ifa. It's not British gas, you know. So
And there's no competition.
exactly, there's no competition. So we do things together for us to flourish, and the more we do it, the universe is pleased and blesses us all more. So
And for those
please
who
do
are
join
unable
us.
to join us because they are in different parts of the world, what
They
we'll
can
also
join
be
us via
doing,
Zoom.
we'll be covering the entire event and festival via Zoom. So people will share the link. People will be able to join us, from wherever they are. We'll also have the link, the Zoom recorded. So even afterwards, people can still watch the recorded Zoom or wait for us to edit, the video coverage, and also watch that. Because the more we are involved, as the Iyanifa says, and the more, we are able to embrace, the better for us, because we'll have a deeper and better understanding of what it really is about. This beautiful sacred science that our ancestors had and have handed down to us. Sadly, as we know, the Western world tried to chuck everything away, baby, the bathtub, and the bath water. But there are some of our people who had held on to it and kept it, very well. And that is why people like Iyanifa have also been able to tap into that portal to also learn and continue learning. And I'm very grateful that not only that I've become awoken, which I had started that journey with my late father, the Prince, but also that, as Yanifa said, it is a personal journey. So I even had to now look within myself, look at my life, look at how things were going, and begin to question things. And I'm like, okay, I've done it this way for so long, I've done it that way for so long. Let me try this other way. Um, and I must say, I've not looked back since. I'm very content. I'm happy every day, especially when you begin to know yourself more and you begin to grow spiritually and have a better understanding and know really that it is indeed a way of life. It has nothing to do with all the, how would I put it, the negatives, because I'm also being very careful not to um, misrepresent or insult anyone whatsoever, because everybody's entitled. We all have free will. Oludumare gave
Mm.
everybody free will, so we're all entitled to embrace whatever we want. But I'm just sharing, and that is the reason, as I said earlier on in the last, maybe like the first or second show, the reason is because this is a calling for me. It's a duty. It's something that has been on my heart for over 6 years. That you need to do this, right? Or you need to share this with people. It's then up to people to now take it on board and also have their own experience as well. So I always love to thank Iyanifa for just being patient with us, despite all the hiccups that we have when it comes to technology, the electricity going off, the internet not connecting, against all the odds. That's why I was like, yay, this is the 12th episode. So against
Yeah,
all the odds,
actually.
Olodumare has been with us, the Orishas have been with us, the energy of the Romales have been with us to guide us and to support us and to enable us to, overcome those little glitches and really make something worthwhile of, what it is that we're all trying to learn here. So I do thank you very much indeed. For next week, which is going to be the final episode, the 13th episode, um, we're going to open up the phone lines so that it's going to be more of a question and answers with our dear Iyanifa. So get your questions ready, please, ladies and gentlemen. Think about all the things that you have heard, you've learned. Go back onto the Princess of Arise page, go and watch again on replay the past episodes, or go on YouTube to watch them, and then just think, ponder, and you will have at least one question, that you want to ask, or it could be that it's something that you actually want to share and contribute, because it's a conversation, so it's not a one-way thing, and therefore that's what we'll be doing this coming week, which is next Thursday, by the special grace of Oludumare. And
Oh,
I'm
sure.
sure, without a shadow of doubt, I have so much trust in Iyanifa. I'm sure she'll be up to the task to be able to, answer our questions. Those that she's unable to answer, which is very rare. I don't think there's any, but just in case,
Just
she
in
would
case.
she would be able to also either tell us when to come back for the answer, or she can refer us to where we can get the
Mm.
answers. The informations, again, I'd like Iyanifa to please explain to us what those informations are and how we can be prepared for when you're going to share the link with us, how each person can go and buy theirs online.
Okay. Thank you, Yami.
Yeah.
So, informations for me was, well, it started off as just like prose, me writing things to basically, so I don't believe in affirmations. I mean, everyone has what they follow, but it's about Ifa, the information, and the manifestation. So that's how the name Informations came up. So when you look at the book, it talks about the different Irumoles and the Orishas. And in each day, what it does is it gives you the day of the week, the importance of that day of the week, bearing in mind that us as a, I don't like using that word, Anago people, only have 4 days a week in our calendar. So so we only have 4 days a week in our calendar. So contrary to what we're told by the Gregorian calendar. So with the affirmations, it gives you the day of the week, the important, what is the actual name of that day of the week, the importance of that day, what are the things that have been known to happen from elders, from research of us as a people, that happens on that day. Then it will give you the Oduifa for that day,
The,
in,
the,
so
the,
both
the fat
Yoruba and
verse.
the English. Yeah, the five verse, so the stanza. It will give you the Odu, so you'll see the actual signature of the Odu, what it looks like. You will see the name of the Odu, and then you will see the stanza that has been taken from that holy Odu, both Yoruba and English. And then there is then an Iwure at the bottom of that, and then there is the affirmations. So, for example, um, Just trying to think off the top of my head from, say,
Today
one
is
that I did on
today is Thursday, for instance.
okay, so based on Thursday, and we're looking at Obarawori. So when I've gone through that Odu, the informations that come out of it is I will achieve, I will rise above all odds, and all that is set against me shall actually work in my favor, as it did for Oluibini, the king of Benin City.
Mm,
So, I mean, that's just like I've just taken a paragraph
a
from it.
little bit.
Yes, because that Odufa Baronwari talks about what happened to Olubini when Olubini was being stoned. As a king, that is a taboo for that to happen. And it talks about the different things that you will find in a farmer's house, in a mother's house, in a king's palace. Um, so they threw stones at Olubini, and he also threw stones in relation of anger to kill the big parrot. He was now told nobody kills the parrot. You need to offer ebo. And then if I was saying in that Odu, do you still have more stones to throw? The stones of benevolence, stones of prosperity. So in that Odufa, without going into it, in order to kind of repair what he had done, stones are also added to the Etutu. So I won't go too much into it. So that they now no longer become, because when you throw a stone at something that you're not supposed to, the stone is coming back. It's
It's
not
like a
just going
boomerang.
somewhere. So for you to cut that and ease that, and almost a kind of forgiveness process, and to be able to right that wrong, that thing also as an element needs to form part of what you're doing. So then instead of you getting back the stones of negativity that that person threw, what he was being told to do was for benevolence, for humility, for all those things. So yeah.
Thank you so much. So we're really looking forward to when
Yes, ma'am.
the books will be ready, the online version
Yes, ma'am.
or the hard copy, and then you can share the link with us so we know where
I
to
will do.
buy online. And
And
most
you
likely
guys
will be
can
through
also follow me on Iwuri Abiamo. For anybody on your IG, I have a page, Iwuri Abiamo again, which is a dedicated page. At
on
the moment,
Instagram.
on Instagram, we have a Facebook page, but that's been brought down because we're revamping it. And our website is being done as we speak. And Iwuri Abiamo is all about a dedicated place for support around our youth and our children and the
Children.
things that we cannot talk about to other people, or it's a safe space basically where you can go and get iwures and find out how to use the odufas and how to get support with the things that you need. There's always someone there for you to speak to. So
Thank you, Iyanifa. Just
yes.
quickly before we wrap up, it's nearly 10 o'clock as usual. Time just, we
Flies.
don't know where time goes, it just
It
goes.
goes. It went
You
back
know,
into the universe.
may we be led to use our times wisely by the grace of
Ashe,
Olodumare.
Ashe,
So
Ashe.
our sister Gloria Ogunbarijo is also online as usual. She
Good
said,
evening,
being
Ma.
woke is a real thing. And that's somebody speaking from experience, you know.
Mm.
It's a personal experience and journey for her. Thank you so much, Miss Gloria. Wonderful to have you. Our brother from Trinidad is also online, Durante, and he's the one that really wants to know and embrace Ifa.
Welcome, brother.
So
Thank
you're
you for
welcome.
always being
He
here.
says, good
Thank you.
evening. My
Welcome.
internet has been giving trouble. Don't worry, you're here.
Oh,
And he says the
don't
weather
worry.
is also bad in
We're
Trinidad.
twins on that one. We're twins on that one.
Thank you so much. Again, I would like to appreciate one of my big sisters and my cousin, to see Molly, Mrs. Bello, who has said greetings, Princess and Dr. Iyanifa. Greetings to you too, ma'am, and wonderful to have
Greetings,
you
ma'am.
with us. So, in preparation, Iyanifa, for next week, I would like you to give us one or two pointers regarding, you know, the type of questions that we should be thinking of, you know, so that,
Okay.
we also ask questions that are relevant to us, you know, as
Yeah.
individuals and to our world. Because as you said,
Yeah.
even though we're individuals, we're also,
Hmm.
when we come to this earth, we're connected, just like
Yes.
the Orishas and the Yorubas are interconnected. So we're in this huge network, and
Yes.
we're all supposed to be here to ensure that our journey here is smooth We have to do those things you said about being benevolent, being kind
Mhm.
to each
Mhm.
other, forgiving each other, being able to apologize when we do wrong, and
Yeah.
just thinking positivity, going the positive way
And
rather
sorry
than
to
the
cut you,
negative.
Yami. It's not just about. I think that's also something that has
Sorry,
been
ma.
taken
Can
from.
you?
So I said there's something that has been taken from us based on something that you just said. It's not just the need to be able to apologize. When I was going to law school, I remember one of my lecturers, Miss Samboda, um, beautiful, beautiful lady. She said to me one day, it's very easy. People leave their house. They have conflict, like what we've looked at previous Odufa with family members. But they will go outside to work because they're getting the paper that's printed for them as money to say, yes, sir, be ever so nice to everybody else. But Ifa tells us that it starts with self and it starts with our home. So when we look at the issue of apology, again, when I was growing up, I used to tell my mom that whenever I had children, I wouldn't teach them the word sorry. And the reason is that sorry or sometimes apologizing is just a word. But let's take it back to what Ifa says in terms of being able to ponder deeply. Sometimes if I offend you now, yam your bobini, which I do, would I never do, offend you, but sometimes it can happen that there is a need for me to understand one, what is it that I have done? How did that leave that person feeling? And also, not just to rush in and said, sorry, 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 I'm not binu, because it's
Hmm.
like just take that and be quiet, almost.
So
But
it's
to
not. It's
actually
not a
think about,
genuine. It's not a genuine.
yeah,
It hasn't come from a
sometimes there is
place.
a need to sit down and actually think about what is it that I have done to you? How did that make you feel before I can genuinely even know what is it that I am apologizing
It's
for?
in four.
Yeah. And how to not find myself in that situation again, although, human beings, things will happen. But there is that need for reflection, and I find that is why Ifa is so beautiful, because on every single thing and every single step, boy, you don't get away with just doing something. There's
Hmm.
always a huge reflection,
Hmm.
you know. Um, so yeah, because for if I things will happen, but you need to do better, and in order for you to do better, you have to reflect.
Thank you, ma'am. So, what is it that you want to tell us towards preparing for next week
I
when
would say
each
just
of us are
based on
bringing our
the
questions or
yeah.
contributions?
I mean, people can bring the questions, that they want based on the things that are important to them or that they've heard or learned or not sure about. But for me, I would ask that as we started the show, that we focus on Ori, because it's very important. And the reason why I'm going back to Ori is that nobody answered, nobody completed the assignment. And it's such an important thing for us to understand Ori
So,
in
so,
depthly. And
so,
it
what
takes
is
time.
Ori? What is our
Yes,
understanding
what is
of
Ori?
Ori?
Yes, yes, let's
Or
go
in
back to that.
English, for those just like your chakra, your
Your head
being,
chakra.
your personal being that you came to this world
Your
with,
third eye.
or your third eye,
So
whichever we
I
want to call it. Okay.
yeah, so I feel that it's really important. I mean, as we saw when we started exploring about the issue of worry before we set the assignment that time, that it's such a huge topic. And I think that is something that questions should be focused around that. And then from that, work can be done around that, individually, um, based on whatever you take away from it. But I find that the issue of Ori is it's one that is very neglected, but
Hmm.
very, very important.
Would that be due to lack of understanding, or
Yeah,
due to
it's
the
just
fact
that
that
we don't
we've been stripped of,
that knowledge, yeah, and that
our
understanding, yeah,
and we've been
that
stripped of who we
understanding
are
of what. Mhm.
stripped of our identity, because our ori is actually our identity, really.
Yes, it is.
That's who we are.
Yeah.
And Yoruba will say ori lo mobi teste ere. So without
The
our heads, you can't even really do
the legs
much.
ain't going nowhere. And also, when we look at it, it is the brain that
Everything,
sends all the ways to
all
the
the
rest of the
messages,
body. Say
everything is here.
time to urinate, time to move your leg, time to move your arm. That's why when people have trauma or they have like severe accidents, and then we're working with them as medics, where you have to retrain from the brain to give that signal for them to learn to walk or move or do certain things again. Even with speech.
It's very interesting. And I'm going to wrap up with just sharing something that my father, the prince, shared with me many years ago. He was a prince, obviously, he was born in the palace and grew up in the palace. And he would say that their dad, Kabisi, my grandfather, would warn them when he's talking to his children. He would, when they're on the dining table, they had this long dining table where they all dined, and he would tell them about Ori. It's just because you mentioned it that my mind went
Hmm.
back to it. And Kabisi would tell his children that Emma Fiori we Ori Olori,
Hmm.
Ori Tolukaluku Yanwa
Hmm.
Ototoni. In other words, don't compare your head or your destiny with
Hmm.
another person's, because each one has chosen their own. Àti
Exactly.
pé ẹlòmíì wà, ó lè fi orí ẹ̀ gbá ògiri, ó lè fi gbá
Hmm.
òkúta, ó lè
Hmm.
fi gbá ọ̀pẹ̀, ó lè fi
Hmm.
gbálẹ̀ kí orí yẹn dẹ̀ dúró.
Hmm.
Ìwọ lè mú orí ẹ kó mú òwú kó fi kàn án kí orí yẹn túká.
Kotuka. It's true.
And for a king to say that, I think that was his best way to give his children, some lessons about life. Sorry, for those who don't understand Yoruba, my grandfather, the king, would used to tell my dad and his siblings, about how to treat
Not
themselves
compare.
and how to care for their heads, for their being. Because some people, hypothetically, would just bang their heads on a rock, bang it on the wall, bang it on the floor, and they just shake it off and they keep moving. And some people, all they'll have to do is just take a little bit of cotton wool and touch the head, and the head explodes, disintegrates. And therefore, he was trying to tell his children, the princes and the princesses, make sure that in your life's journey, you take care of your own being. Don't look to the left or to the right. Don't check whoever's.
The
Be
supreme being.
particular about yours
Ori the
because it
supreme
is
being.
so personal to you
Mm.
as an individual. It cannot be exchanged. That is what you chose as part of your destiny, and that's what you brought. I just wanted to just share that and
Mm.
add that to what Iyanifa was explaining to us about our
And
Ori.
I'm sorry, Yami, to cut you. Like what you were saying about cotton wool. Sorry, it just brought me up to Anifa.
Mm.
Iwori where if a child is born by that Odu, cotton wool becomes a taboo for them and can actually make them infertile. So imagine
Wow.
someone doesn't know and does what
Wow.
um I mean today's day of Egungun, um kábíyèsí kí Ifá túbọ̀ máa fún wọn lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ àtẹja
Asha.
jẹ.
Asha.
You know, that there's always wisdom when you listen to your kings, to your elders, when you hear them speak, and it always relates back to Ifa again for me. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So to wrap up today, we'd like to say a big thank you once more to everybody. Oh, we also have Owamotoke. You just came. Don't worry, darling. You can always go watch the replay. But it's always lovely to really have you online. And if
Welcome.
you're just coming in, all we're talking about is next week, Thursday, is the final one. That's the 13th episode, the final episode for this series. We'll be having more series, but for this particular series, this is the final one that we're going to have a break. So Iyanifa has kindly availed us her time, and she'll be able to take calls. So our dear Olabisi, who's our technical person, will tell us how we're going to be able to make the calls. So don't worry
Thank
about
you,
that.
Sister Olabisi, in advance.
Yes, she's going to tell us how we're going to make the calls so that you can actually speak to Iyanifa directly, ask the questions, those pertinent questions for you, for yourself, in this your journey. or whatever it is that you feel is confusing for you, that you need a lot more or a bit more explanation. And those of us who have been in the journey, who are going to be kind enough to share with us, and what their own experience has been, and whatever pointers they want to give us. So, Miss Amotoke, that is what it's been today. The other things we spoke about, you will have to go and watch on the replay. But welcome. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much. Now, and Miss Gloria says, and you can take that to the bank. Yes, we
Thank you,
thought
ma.
we've all been taking stuff to the bank. Trust me. So, Iyanifa, I'm going to hand over to you again to to set the pace as we go out again into this next week, um, the weekend ahead, the new week ahead, as we always do. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. I just want to mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Elédùmarè àgọ̀tun
Basha.
wípé gẹ́gẹ́ bá a ṣe ń ṣe lọ́sẹ̀ẹ̀sẹ̀ a dá ọjọ́ èní náà ni ọ̀sẹ̀ egúngún a dá ọjọ́ ọjọ́ náà dẹ̀ pé ọjọ́ kò láyọ̀ kò bá wa nínú sàárè kò bá wa
Adúpẹ́,
nílé ẹjọ́ kò bá
adúpẹ́,
wa lẹ́yìn ẹ̀wọ̀n nínú ọgbà
adúpẹ́ o,
ẹ̀wọ̀n Elédùmarè àdúpẹ́ orí
adúpẹ́
ẹni
Olúwa,
àdúpẹ́ Ifá
adúpẹ́
àdúpẹ́
Olúwa, adúpẹ́ o.
ìgbàgbárùmọ̀lẹ̀
Touch your heads
àdúpẹ́
and thank your heads,
òrìṣà
people.
àdúpẹ́ o
Adúpẹ́ o,
um orí ẹni ẹlẹ́dàá àtàràkàṣọlà àdúpẹ́
adúpẹ́.
nítorí wípé àwọn kan ni wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí tí wọn ò sì ń bímọ lénìí
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni,
tí wọ́n ti di egúngún báyìí ṣùgbọ́n
bẹ́ẹ̀ni,
a dúpẹ́ wípé a ṣì wà ní ibí wípé
adúpẹ́.
ìwọ̀fà pé orí wa Elédùmarè ò ní iṣẹ́ ṣe fún wa ta ní
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni,
láti ṣe bí a ṣe wá wọnú ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí tí ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí ń lọ sí òpin kó má ṣe di kankan nú wa mẹ́rù
àṣẹ,
kó má ṣe di ọmọ wa mẹ́rù kó
àṣẹ
má
o,
ṣe di aya mẹ́rù kó má ṣe
àṣẹ,
di ọkọ mẹ́rù
àṣẹ o,
porongodo ilé ayé kó má ṣe lù fún wa jó
àṣẹ o, Elédùà.
ọ̀sẹ̀ẹ̀sẹ̀ àwa ń dájọ́ àwa á sùn kàkà Ifá ló ń jí wa Elédùmarè ló ń jí wa orí ẹni ló sọ wípé ọjọ́ ṣì kù kan
Pẹ́,
kí orí wa kó má ṣe padà lẹ́yìn wa
àṣẹ.
torí pé orí odídẹrẹ́ ló gbére pàdé odídẹrẹ́
Hmm.
orí àlùkò ló gbére pàdé àlùkò kí orí wa kó máa gbére pàdé wa lọ́jọ́ gbogbo
Àṣẹ, àṣẹ.
ní gbogbo ìgbà tí a bá wá ń jí sí ayé Elédùmarè àgọ̀tun ojú àṣà kì í ríbi bẹ́ẹ̀ ni tàwòdì kì í rọ̀rùn
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni,
má ṣe jẹ́ kójú wa kó ríbi láàárọ̀ lọ́sàn-án lálẹ́
àṣẹ,
gbogbo àwọn abiyamọ tí wọ́n ti bímọ tí wọ́n ń dunnú lórí ọmọ Ifá Elédùmarè má ṣe jẹ́ kí ọmọ aráyé fọmọ pàrokò fún wa
àṣẹ,
kò sí bí òbí ṣe lè pẹ́ tó láyé má ṣe jẹ́ àmọ́ sàárè àwọn ọmọ
àṣẹ
wa
o, àṣẹ,
ẹrù burúkú tí wọ́n ń dì sí ẹnu ọ̀nà abiyamọ tí abiyamọ ò gbọ́dọ̀ tú má ṣe jọ́ ń dì sẹ́nu ọ̀nà wa
àṣẹ, àṣẹ wà.
ọ̀tá wa léni léni lénìní léni léni kò rí ní bá ṣe bó lọ́mọ ṣe bó lọ́kọ ṣe bó
Hmm.
láya Elédùmarè àgọ̀tún kò ní fà wá lé ìfẹ́ ọ̀tá wa lọ́wọ́
Àṣẹ,
kò ní ṣe wá lé ẹni tí wọ́n lé lé tí wọn ò rí bá tí wọ́n
àṣẹ,
tara ọmọ àbí ọkọ àbí aya àbí ọmọ
àṣẹ,
ọmọ àbáwọn olólùfẹ́ wa mú wa wọn ò ní tara wa náà mú wa
àṣẹ o,
àwa
àṣẹ,
ní fi ẹsẹ̀ wa rìn lọ sí ibi tí kú wà
àṣẹ,
wọn ò ní tàn wá lọ pa
àṣẹ o,
àní ríjọ́ ògùn lákàáyé ògùn ò ní fi
àṣẹ,
ẹ̀jẹ̀ wa pa aró
àṣẹ,
sọ́nà
àṣẹ, àṣẹ,
á máa tùbá máa tùṣẹ́ fún wa
àṣẹ,
àwa tá a rí ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí náà là á rí ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀
àṣẹ o,
nínú ire gbogbo nínú àlàáfíà nínú ẹ̀mí gígùn nínú ààbò nínú ire gbogbo àìkú baálẹ̀ ọrọ̀ á ṣeé
àṣẹ,
ṣe fún wa
àṣẹ,
àṣetì bọ́jọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ làṣetì bóṣù àṣetì ò ní bá wa
àṣẹ,
gbogbo ohun tá a bá ń dáwọ́lé tí orí bá ti rí wípé kò ní pa wá lára orí á bá wa ṣe
àṣẹ,
torí pé nǹkan míì wà tí ẹ̀dá fẹ́ ṣe tó jẹ́ pé òun lórun kúkúkú mọ́ tó yẹ pé orí dẹ̀ ń tì kúrò ń bẹ̀ orí ò jẹ́
hmm,
kó ṣeé ṣe torí pé kí ni kó má bàa bọ́ sí
hmm,
ìpalára orí wa ò ní jẹ́ kí a ṣe ohun tí ó máa pa wá lára àbí tó máa gbà
àṣẹ,
wá lẹ́mìí
àṣẹ,
ẹ̀mí wa rèé okùn ayé ni o ẹ̀mí wa ò ní sọnù gbà ó láṣẹ
àṣẹ o,
Èdùmàrè ní bá wọn kúkú àjọkú ẹni
àṣẹ o,
máa kú á dàgbà Ifá
àṣẹ,
ṣàánú wa
àṣẹ,
láṣẹ
àṣẹ o.
Èdùmàrè
Translation to
ẹ̀yà
original
wílé ni
English. Our followers are waiting.
Did you just say original English? Okay. I know time has gone, so until next week, we will bring up that one with original English. So I was just
Just to
giving
wrap it
thanks
up for
to,
people who don't
yeah, I was
speak
just giving
the
thanks
Yoruba
to,
language.
yeah, giving thanks to Eledumare for Eledumare's provisions on our lives. Um, for the fact that every week we say, you know, Thursday, see you on Thursday, see you on Thursday, and Eledumare grants us that Thursday. He has not allowed us to go and join the ancestors all of a sudden. Um, that we are given life, that He has protected us, protected everything about us, our children, our work, our home. And it is my worry that Eledumare continues to protect us, to guide
Ashe,
us, that
Ashe,
Ifa continues to give us guidance, that our Ori never departs from us, that
Ashe,
our eyes never see any negativity,
Ashe,
be it illness, death, um, and all manners of things. And that we, as we come every Thursday and journey together, that we continue to be here again next week.
Ashe,
And that as this week is slowly wrapping up to the weekend, that it doesn't, bundle us or luggage us with it out of here.
Ashe.
Um, yeah.
Thank you so much, Ashe.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh,
Thank you so much, Iyanifa. Thank
yes.
you indeed. Thank you, everybody. Somebody just came in. Oh dear, you are mega late. But
Who's that then? Who's the
that's is our
latecomers to the
sister
class?
Anne
Oh, hello,
Aruna, who
Iyanifa.
was away in Benin Republic. I think
Oh, very
she just
nice, ma.
got back.
Welcome, ma. Welcome, welcome,
Welcome
ma.
back, ma'am. Good to
Yes,
see
ma.
you. Good to see you. Everybody's saying I share. Thank you,
Mm,
Yanifa. Thank you, Princess. In abundance.
thank you.
So be it.
Thank you
Sister
all for being
Gloria.
here.
Simoli is saying, Belu Mari,
Ashe,
anything me, Otiri Bella, Thank you,
Ashe.
everybody. God bless you
Èyí
indeed.
tá wí yà rọtí rọmọ.
Oh, Mr. Motoke has a question. Oh, dear. Okay.
Okay.
Before we quickly go, what is the question, Mr. Motoke? Um, quickly type your question if it's something that Yanifa can answer very quickly before we wrap up. You just said, I have a question, but I can't see any other thing. Okay, maybe you can send it to me later in my inbox so I can then pass it on to Iyanifa. So as we always wrap up every day or every Thursday, I said every day. Can you imagine? I want to see people every day.
You are doing it every day now. This is what you do. I mean, the truth is
Every
coming out
Thursday,
now.
every week. What I want us to do again is just to listen to this song. As I always say, it was composed, written, and performed by the one and only Oloye Herbert Ogunde, one of Nigeria's leading artists of repute. He was a great actor of film, stage, and television, scriptwriter, storyteller, director, producer, one like our own Steven Spielberg, really, that time. He was amazing. But he also wrote amazing songs, and the songs have deep meaning. And especially because they're in Yoruba, I love them, and this is one of them. And I always, one of our first episodes, I believe, was Brother Lakunle that said, I must continue to, I just sang it one off, and he said we must continue to sing it every week.
Sing it,
So,
yeah.
I do that because it's also an iwuri, it's blessing us indeed.
Sure.
Ajílòwòrò agbóhùn ẹyẹ tó ń ké, ire, 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 ẹyẹ ire, ẹyẹ olùgbàlà òjíṣẹ́ olódùmarè, ẹyẹ olóhùn méjì, tìbítire ló ń ké, orí wa ò gbàbọdè, ire ni a kàn ó. Jíṣẹ́ owó, òjíṣẹ́ ọmọ, jíṣẹ́ ilé, òjíṣẹ́ aya, jíṣẹ́ ajé ò jíṣẹ́ ọkọ, agbọ́ o, ire ni a kàn. Àti gbóhùn ẹlẹ́dàá wa tó gbére kò wá o lọ́nà. Lọ́nà àjò ní ire, níbi iṣẹ́ òòjọ́ wa ire. Àní dandan ẹlẹ́dàá wa ó gbére kò wá o lọ́nà. When we wake up in the morning, we hear the chirping of the birds. singing. And when the birds come, they come with good news and not so good news. But we choose the goodness in the message that they bring. And all the days of our lives, each and every step, each and every moment, all that we will hear, all that we will see, all that we will encounter, all that we will embrace will be goodness, goodness, and more goodness by the special grace of Olodumare. And so shall it be. Ashe. Till next week again, don't forget to put your diaries, what you meant to do. Don't forget what Iyanifa said. She wants us to do this homework. What is Uri? What is your own personal understanding of Uri? So you can have that alongside any other questions that you have for her. I bid you good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining in. Yanifa, Eshun, Mutupeo, thank you indeed. I'm very, very grateful. I'm very honored indeed. And a massive, massive thank you to my baby sister, the one and only Olabisi Obadara of VOO. That's the World of Vu, and our young man who always there to support her, young Isaiah Faladu. Take good care of yourselves. Continue to arise as agents of positive change. Irikabiti. Odigba.